Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Women Changing the World Press. Before we begin today, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the people of Mamu country in North Queensland. And I would also like to pay my respects to the traditional owners and elders, past and present, right across Australia and the Torres Strait. So today I'm very excited to be here celebrating the launch of our new book, Authenticity and Action. And I'm very excited to have one of our special guest authors joining me today, Wendy. Please join me on stage, Wendy.
Hi, Peace. I'm so honored to be on this interview today and excited to share more about the book. Thank you so much for recognizing myself and building education, the work that we do. But more importantly, thank you for recognizing women all across the globe. I think this is one of the most impactful works that any woman can do in this world. And I'm so grateful to be part of this organization.
Oh, thank you so much. Wendy, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the work that you do.
Absolutely. So, my name is Wendy. I'm a founder of Building Education. We are a nonprofit organization that serves to build safe schools and develop rural villages in developing countries to end the cycle of poverty. Essentially, what we do is we go into very rural villages and we build schools, water systems, energy, and roads to create more sustainable communities.
I love the work that you're doing so much. It's so important. Now, your chapter was called From Tragedy to Purpose. And in your chapter, you talk about the fact that at 8 years of age, you lost your mother. Can you tell us more about the impact of losing your mother and what that's meant for your life?
Absolutely. I think it is still so much of a learning process. The impact of losing my mother at a very young age. It is a never ending healing journey. And I definitely believe that woman changing the world is something that has actually supported in that healing process. So,
Mm.
the biggest thing is that, you know, as much as my mother is not physically in my life, I feel like she is still so present with me at all times, and there's so many lessons that I learned, not just from her life and her living, but from her passing. So the first 3 things I would say, that I learned was, 1, that life can be short, and so you have to live a life worth living and pursue every single one of your dreams. I would say that the second thing is um, that the only legacy that we leave behind in this world, like the true legacy, is the impact we leave on another person's life. And Maya Angelou has this really great quote, and it she seals it up really well. And I think it's all very encompassing. She says, "People will forget what you've done and what you've said, but they won't forget the way that you've made them feel." And I think it's all encompassing, meaning that it matters in our actions, it matters in our words, but more than that, it matters in the way that we make people feel. And that is something that I'm still learning, and still improving on, as a woman and as a leader in in this world, I believe. Um, and the last thing is to always have compassion. And that was more of a teaching from my father of watching my mother get sick and then seeing how he, even when we were suffering, be able to alleviate another person's or another being's suffering, even when we're hurting ourselves. That essentially is what heals the world. Um, yeah, I would say those are the top 3 things that I have learned from her passing, and even more so, it's interesting, I was kind of reflecting just about a few weeks ago, and someone had asked me if I remembered my mother, and we get so accustomed to telling ourselves that, we don't remember something or ignoring, something that brings us pain, and kind of like relives that trauma. And I started changing what I said because for my whole life I've said I don't remember her, but I started telling myself I do remember my mother, and it's really allowed me to kind of step into my feminine, and remember her touch and remember the things that she used to tell me. Um, and I think that has been an even more beautiful learning process of learning how to be a woman, learning how to be feminine, learning how to be a source of light and love for the world, even with her not around. So, yeah, I'm still learning so much from my mother, even to this day.
So beautiful, Wendy, it really is. And I can feel her life through your work and the things that you do and those incredible lessons that you've learnt along the way as well. It's quite extraordinary, I think, and I think if she was here today, she would be so incredibly proud of you. Um, yeah, it's remarkable.
Thank you. And I think even for the work that we do with building education, it started off as a legacy on behalf of my mother. So the first school, the first village that we built, it was all built with faith, to be completely honest. It was taking one step after the other, and that village I built in her honor, like leaving a legacy behind on behalf of her. And I do feel like she's followed me on through my travels and through my journey of making an impact and wanting to achieve so that I can also, uplift a global community of women.
I love that. I really do. Now, as a child, you loved Wonder Woman. And then when you grew up, you became a pilot and learned to fly. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was funny because, during the times when my cousin and my sister really like to make puzzles, and for me, I was seeking a source of strength, to be honest, because missing a, parental guide in your life is something that is very challenging for 8-year-old. You essentially lose your sense of safety, and so I was looking to create safety within myself, to be honest, and I wanted to feel empowered. So I used to watch Wonder Woman on television during these times, and I saw how Wonder Woman was just this amazing beacon of light, and she was powerful. She was fast. She was strong. She could protect not only herself, but other people in the world. And I wanted to be just like her. So at the time, I spent most of my days really watching Wonder Woman, learning from her, learning how I could be just like her. And that led me to actually going into gymnastics and to becoming a gymnast. And so gymnastics made me feel so powerful. I could flip through the air and just do these incredible moves that made me feel like I was invincible. And my sister was an extremely talented gymnast. She actually was more, committed onto the path of gymnastics than I was. I tend to, injure myself pretty often, and so end up having to, quit the sport about my teenage years. But later on, as I was continuing to find, needing to find another source of inspiration, I was thinking about what would make me feel ultimately very empowered in life, and what came to me was that I had never heard about a woman flying, and I had male friends who were pilots, but I just had never experienced learning about a woman that was capable of flying. And so I decided that in order for me to feel empowered, I could go ahead and learn how to fly a plane. And so I did. And I think what I learned was that flying not only empowered me, but the education portion of it is what made me a contributing member of society. So, I think that is what created me into becoming the person that I am today. But with that being said, I think I still have a lot to learn. Um, and what I mean by a lot to learn is, I think we only succeed in life when we have the support of other women and can support other women alongside us. And that is what I'm hoping to create in my life moving forward, is to really create a sisterhood of women that I love, that are my equals, because all women are equal. We are all queens, we are all goddesses, and to really be able to create this force and this beacon of light that the world needs, especially now.
Yeah, incredible, incredible. And you talk about in your chapter the trip you took to India and Nepal and how that changed the whole trajectory of your life. Can you tell us
Mhm.
about this?
Absolutely. So I was actually working in the aviation industry, and I reached a milestone within my company. And I decided to make a trip to India to volunteer at a girls' orphanage after taking a leadership program that asked me to explore what some of my passions were. And so I then went to India. I volunteered at a girls' orphanage for about 2 weeks in India, and upon arrival, the girls actually were really well disciplined. The household was ran by this incredible, powerful woman. Her name was Usha. I still am so in admiration of her to this day. And Usha ran her house very strictly. So the girls were very well disciplined. And when I first arrived there, I didn't know how I fit into the picture, because I saw that she had all the girls, doing their chores and doing homework, and I was unsure, like, how I could support and help. But as I got to know the girls and as I built a relationship with them, a lot of them I still have connection to this day, I realized that what changed their life was actually education. They came from, um, really tragic backgrounds of severe homelessness and just things that you could never imagine that 4-year-olds and 4 or 5-year-olds, 14-year-old girls would go through. And what they taught me actually was that regardless of what happens to you in life, we have a choice whether we want to hold on to the bitterness, the anger, the hurt, the pain, or we could choose a life of freedom and choose to forgive and choose to love and to have compassion again. And, it was in that moment that I realized that I could let go of the tragedy of losing my mother and come to a place of forgiveness and compassion, and also be a not just contributing member of society, but someone that could give back and love on the world in that same aspect.
So incredible, Wendy. And the work that you've gone on to do since that time is just life changing for so many children. Well, we're out of time now, but thank you so much for being here and chatting with me today, and thank you so much for sharing your story in Authenticity in Action. I've really loved reading it and learning more about your life.
Thank you so much for this opportunity piece. And I think, just one last thing I would like to add, because it isn't me that has done all this work. I mean, this work would not be possible without all of the donors, the board members, the advisors, our amazing donor community, and all the team members and volunteers that support us. And this is definitely a huge community effort. They say it takes a village to send a girl to school. So it takes global communities to send so many children that are in need of education to school. And so I think I'm very blessed to be the vehicle in which people can operate through. So I want to thank all of the people that have been in support of building education. I want to thank you, Peace and Kathy, for being able to highlight building education and highlight myself, and share more about the work that we do here in building education. And I hope that I can continue to support women changing the world as well.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in today. Make sure you grab your copy of Authenticity in Action at wcwpress.com. Bye for now.
Bye.